Okay, I think we're all set. I'm Brian Murphy, Chair of the Land Steward Committee, the Land Steward Woodward Subcommittee, and I call this meeting into the Land Steward Subcommittee to order.
Why are you the chair of this committee at this?
Okay, so sorry, I'm going to mute. Oh, I guess that was Alex. Sorry. Yes, oops. Are you unmuted now, Alex? Okay. My understanding is that as I was chair of the Land Steward Committee, that my subcommittee role in a subgroup was not that critical. As you know, last week I was again put on the town record as a voter in the town of Carlisle. So the issue of whether I am or am not a resident is moot. As far as I know, I have full authority. If someone wants to question that, Suki is here as a pro tem. If the chair is somehow not available, then she would serve as the chair. So I believe we still have a quorum or even a super quorum if you want to remove me, but there is a quorum here.
Okay, well, with all due respect, at the close of the January 5th meeting, you acknowledged that you were not a resident of the town of Carlisle at the close of the January 5th meeting. I have been told that under the select board's policy, your membership as a member of this subcommittee and as chair of the subcommittee terminated on January 5. Your reappointment can be made by a vote of the LSC, but that has not occurred, and no meeting is scheduled until the 15th. So I believe you are neither a member nor the chair of the subcommittee for the purposes of this meeting.
Well, excuse me, but even if I wasn't a chair, I would still be a member based on what the select board has said. But let's just assume you're correct and I'm wrong. Then Suki, will be the chair of this meeting.
Well, with all due respect, she has no authority to sit in as a chair unless the LSC votes her to do so. So I don't believe you have the authority to convene this meeting. You were told about that prior to posting it. You posted it anyway, and here we are today. Okay.
So Alex, this meeting, we made the plan for this meeting in November, on November 25th. It's not a new meeting. I'm going to hold the meeting or hold Suki as the pro tem chair. Suki, I don't know if you want to say something or if you want to run it yourself, but Alex, I appreciate what you've said. You've said it many times in many different venues, including at the ConsCom. And at ConsCom, we said the meeting is going to be held anyway. This is not certainly the final meeting, and no public input can be taken after this point in time, but this is just a step along the way as we try to move forward. And as you know, the abutters were given public notice of the meeting, written notice. There is no law that says they have to be given 2 weeks or 7 days notice. This was a courtesy hearing, and we've allowed them all to know. If you look on the participant list here, there's a lot of people who are here ready to talk. So I appreciate your input, but I guess I would default to Suki or other members of the board. So Suki, I don't know if you can.
So Alex, this meeting was posted on December 29th, which is when Brian was still chair, um, without any issues. So, and I know you've had issues with us conducting these meetings. I wish you had expressed them when we discussed it at the last LSC meeting, and maybe even when it was the schedule was originally put up.
I discussed it and emailed both you and Brian as to the propriety. My concerns were ignored. The
No, they weren't
concerns,
ignored. We replied. We
no,
replied and we gave you our reasons.
well, and you also decided not to accept similar requests from the select board liaison and the chair of the Conservation Commission. So
Yes, because we want this to move forward.
yeah,
We want
no,
to start.
please,
Okay.
you
And why didn't you discuss it then at the LSC meeting if you back in December?
back in December, nobody knew what the status was going to be. And in fact, it was represented to me that as of January 1, Brian was not going to be on the committee anymore. And I asked him not to schedule at that time. So, I can't predict into the future what other people are going to do. I can only, react and say what I think should happen. It's clear to me that you're determined to go forward today. I will attend under protest. I believe this meeting to be improperly convened and not valid.
Okay, so Alex, I certainly take your input, and we're going to proceed. If there's certainly, this is not the last meeting of the Woodward Subcommittee, so there's no harm done if we meet tonight and take input. And I'm sure there's more input to be taken. And your protests have been acknowledged, but I don't think are valid. So I think we should just move on. So my point is, Alex, to you, that under the law, if I'm not considered a member, then, or a voting member, based on what the town decided, even though I'm now a town member, Suki, as pro tem, has the right to convene this meeting. So I guess in difference to Alex, Suki, I guess this is your meeting. If you want to give me permission to speak, I appreciate that.
Well, let's move on to the, well, would you be doing an introduction, or we go on to the meeting minutes?
We haven't opened the meeting yet.
Oh, we haven't opened the meeting yet.
I mean, I don't think
Oh,
we did.
no, yeah, why don't you finish the statement?
Oh, yeah, sorry. So, just 1 second, I have to get my glasses.
You may want to modify it a bit if there's a question about Kim too.
Sure. I am Brian Murphy, chair of the Land Steward Woodward Subcommittee, or if I'm not, then Suki is the pro tem chair of this subcommittee, as there's a question whether I am viable or not. So I call this meeting to order, unless Suki objects. Members present locally are Chris, Shane, and myself. Members present remotely are Alex. For this meeting, the Land Steward Subcommittee is convening in person or by telephone or Zoom conference, as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note this meeting is being recorded. Accordingly, please be aware that other participants may be able to hear you, and anything you broadcast may be captured in the recording. All participants should keep their microphones or their phones and microphones muted unless recognized by me. As this meeting has a remote person, each vote will be conducted by a roll call vote. Excuse me. This is a public hearing and public comment is permitted. I will call on each speaker to address the working group. If you wish to raise your wish to address the group, please click on the raised hand icon or ask to speak by posting a request in the chat feature. Please identify yourself at the time of your remarks. Members of the community may speak if called upon. They are limited to 3 minutes each, which may not be right in this because it's all about the public. Okay, so I've opened the hearing. So just to give a little background, the purpose of this hearing, we had, as you know, the CONSCOM had approved a change of use from hay or grazing to flowers or seed collection for the Woodward property. That was inherited by the LSC. Last spring, we had a hearing to, we put out a bid and then had a hearing to decide who was the best applicant. We chose an applicant and we moved forward with that. There's a licensee for that property. We all know there were some issues with that. You know, one of the parts of the property doesn't have a conservation restriction, which it doesn't stop them from using the property. The example would be the cranberry bog has no conservation restriction, but if we wanted to license someone to do something with that, we could do so. That's the rough background on that.
Just a point of order here, Brian. Can we go to the agenda items and like we?
Oh, I was just doing this intro. No,
Oh, I didn't know this was on the agenda.
it wasn't really, but it's a piece of good. So
Okay, I'd like to.
So that's the
rebut
intro.
Some of the intro.
I'm sorry?
I'd like to rebut some of the intro.
Oh, go ahead.
I think it's a misrepresentation to say that the Woodward license agreement was inherited from the CONSCOM. This was a wholly produced product of the LSC. And you keep saying that we inherited this license from the CONSCOM, and we did not.
Chris,
What's that?
well, we didn't inherit the license. We inherited the idea.
That's right. But I think
And
it's a
then we continued it.
say that we inherited this from the CONSCOM, and it doesn't serve any purpose. The Land Steward has to own this license agreement, and any mistakes that are in it, and any of the process errors that we made. I don't think it serves any purpose to say we inherited this from the CONSCOM.
Okay.
This is a product of the LSC.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I
Anything else?
agree. The license is a product and the adjoining document is from LSC. I agree.
Okay.
But
Go ahead.
would you still have more to finish on the intro or?
That's all I wanted to say. I just.
So Suki, you had the just while we're in the intros, you had the rough timeline of what happened when and where. I don't know if you have that in front of you, but could you just present that so that it's clear?
Um,
No pressure.
I have to wait for it to load
All right.
up. Why don't we do minutes first? Get those
All right.
minutes over the way while I'm getting it ready.
All right. So Chris is taking care of the minutes. We had the 11:25 minutes. I don't know if any, and I was gonna delay them, but Alex is here remotely. Does anybody have any comments on the 11:25 minutes? No? And I want to note in the 11:25 minutes, for example, this meeting or the meeting last week were all laid out in that schedule. So although some people might feel this timeline is too short, we had defined those in our meeting of 11:25, and they're so noted in the minutes.
Right. But we're getting.
After which circumstances changed.
Okay, that would
including-
be.
No, if you're going to comment on like that, then you have to
Only
allow
3
other
minutes.
people to comment.
We're only doing minutes right now.
No,
So,
you made a comment on the minutes that had nothing to do with the accuracy of the minutes.
okay,
You wanted to use that to make a point that this meeting was scheduled back then, and all I want to say in response to that is that at that time, nobody had received the management plan, despite the fact that it had been asked for many times before. And then nobody got a chance to review the management plan until later. So you can lay out a schedule, but if circumstances change, you ought to be flexible enough to respond the schedule to the facts and circumstances.
okay, thank you, Alex. Does anybody have any issues with the minutes of, that he collected for 11/25? Can I get a motion to accept those minutes?
Moved.
Can you second? Even?
I don't know if they might, yeah, I'll second, sure.
Okay. So it's been moved and seconded. I'll take a roll call vote. Shane?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Alex?
All right.
And the chair votes aye and the motion passes. More recently, Chris provided the minutes for the other meetings. Did anybody get to review them?
Yeah, that came out.
The 12/8 meeting? You look at it? You want to delay it?
You just want to go over it a little bit.
I'm sorry, what?
You want to go over it a little bit.
Okay. Alex, sorry.
I mean, I'm open to comments. I know nobody had a lot of time, so it wasn't time to review them. That's fine too, but I did try to get.
So Alex, did you get a chance to review the 12/8 meeting minutes?
I did, and I have no comment.
Okay. So if there's no comments and everybody agrees, can I get a motion to accept those minutes?
Yeah, so moved.
Moved by Shane,
Second.
seconded by Chris. Take a roll call vote. Shane?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Alex?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye and the motion passes. The third set of meeting minutes was 12/18
Not produced yet.
and they haven't been produced yet, so we'll take those up
With apologies.
Well,
Behind.
with Chris's
We have
apologies.
1-5 meeting minutes as well.
Yeah, and we'll take those up at the next meeting. Okay. The next issue would be public comment, not unlike the public comment we're here to take, but do you have any public comment before the public comment? Anything of the public?
Well, I'm not sure how to fix it for this meeting, but, things that may be presented, for example, in Suki's timeline, it doesn't have any backing to it. Like normally, for example, when I write you a letter, I'll say meeting minutes from this page says from here.
Mhm.
And I have asked Suki for some references to some of her timeline things and haven't heard back from her. And I want to say, going forward, if this committee could have more fact checking and more facts lining up, it sure would boost confidence because it's very hard to trust what happens.
Okay. So Suki, are you aware, are there some open issues that she presented that we haven't responded to?
Remember, I responded to one much earlier. I don't know if there's another one. The Woodward timeline was not really for public reference. I shared it with you, Sue, but I wasn't planning on using it as a general, outside of the Land Steward Committee document.
I do appreciate that, Suki. And my point is, if the LSC is using it as a reference, then it's important to have checks and balances on it. So I really, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, the dates on it all come from the meeting minutes. And then also some, I believe, are from emails from an email from Dan Wells.
I think the 2 emails I sent you that I didn't hear back from, I let a few weeks go between each just to, I'm sure you're busy. That I didn't hear back about was specifically surrounding, as Brian said, the being told by Conscom that this is your task to change the Woodward use. And the reason that's important is because determining best use is what the LSC is tasked to do with our property, our town properties. And I don't believe that step was ever done. And so I was asking you to clarify with backing facts of that statement, which again, Brian said, and Chris was saying, not true. I know CCF said not true. And even, and the reason that's important is I thought it, according to the selectmen, even they recommended in June, lay out a plan, document why, and these steps, here we are in January, the following year, still aren't done. And it's just trying to be passed off as forgive me later. And it's an important step. I'm not sure if that was clear.
So,
I think it is.
yeah, some of it is,
Okay.
lot of information for me to try and to process. So do you want me to share the timeline if we're going to be discussing it or using it?
We might as well. I mean, we're really in
Just
public
discuss.
input, but if you want to.
So I don't, and so I apologize. I don't remember the emails. I remember replying to one of them, but I don't remember the other ones. So I apologize for that.
You want to show the timeline? Can you share? Good, there you go.
So this is a general timeline of when things happened that I was through February 8th. Ryan McLean, the town administrator, met with Conscom to discuss long-term plans for agricultural licenses. Then Judy Sarkoff, I guess, introduced the idea of a monarch butterflies, and that numbers were down, and that the Woodward property was one of the few places that has, maybe the only place, has all 3 types of milkweed that support, and was interested, I guess, in that. And Dan Wells expressed interest and asked her to do a presentation. This is the whole presentation. Then this map was sent to me by Dan Wells, showing how they wanted to break up the fields using sheep on this end and let this be wild. And then this, I guess, I don't know if this is this, like I said, I got all these from meeting minutes. This is probably when it was this, or they signed it, but it didn't get approved until December. So then that last January, we started discussing using Woodward as a native plant rehabilitation nursery. And then the next month, we voted to extend field licenses. And I think probably this could be filled out more, because this is where we voted to do the native plant rehabilitation in January, 10-1.
So can I just have a thought that 1 year to 5 was actually something from Conscom, but maybe that's just not really clear on the record.
No, it's absolutely not conscom.
Was, but. Okay,
I-
sorry,
What,
go.
Sue, do you have, what were you want me to document this more with, have actual?
Well, I guess the fact checking of Judy's presentation is my general memory, but I don't have that document with me today. It's at home. So
Okay.
I'm a little bit unprepared to ask specifically.
Okay,
But generally, the whole fact checking, I know last meeting Shane was sharing that Judy Asserkoff felt there was a great seed bank. I don't remember the lady in Conscom who said she didn't necessarily see that this year when she looked at the field, but she did see.
Melissa.
Oh, is that what you know? But she
yeah,
had
Melissa's
a
on
lot
call.
of that hardy grass that sheep eat. Anyways, I don't have those particular notes, but
Okay.
to what Shane was saying before, at the last meeting, these ideas were spoken, not written, and there's no objective these all should be very measurable things, right? Is the seed bank 26 different types of flowers? Is it, 3?
Well,
And what is it? And no one has it written down. So it's just sort of, it feels like from where I sit, it was someone's passion and they took town land to seek their passion. And in the meantime, out goes Clark Farm.
So I
Okay.
think the seed bank, I don't know for sure, but I would think the seed bank documentation would be doable, but it may take years to prove.
Then how do you make the comment that it exists if you, I just think that there should be measurable, I think this is what the select board said too. There should be a measurable way for best use. But to say by one person's opinion or maybe two, and she convinces the LSC because maybe there isn't the background checking, that, oh, this is best use. Literally in one of the meeting minutes, the only thing I could find was Judy Astroff saying, in her opinion, the best use is. And that's what this group ran with.
Okay, so I'm gonna
That's fine. Go
stop
ahead.
your discussion.
Okay.
Is there anybody else from the public that wants to make a pre-statement of public comment before we start the meeting? Somebody bumped up or disappeared, or anybody going once, going twice?
How do you put your hand up?
I don't see any hands up.
How do I do that?
Speak up when you have.
But whoever you are, just say who you are.
It's Melissa, just
Oh, hi.
joining the meeting just as a member of the town,
Okay,
not in any capacity particularly. I just, because we were talking about seed bank just now and the grazing history, one thing that I just kind of wanted to bring up that is related. I thought in the timeline that that the reason for yanking the farmer's grazing license was that the farmer's sheep had transgressed and somehow injured by eating the milkweed. But I'm kind of wondering if maybe that's a complete misapprehension, because milkweed is extremely toxic to sheep. It's like deadly. If you have it in hay, it's also deadly. It's really dangerous for sheep, and it's very unpalatable for sheep. And sheep don't eat it unless there's nothing else. I can't believe the sheep would have touched it, given they were grazing a big, lush grass field. I think maybe whoever the powers that be may have blamed the wrong species for any particular nibbling that occurred on the milkweed. I would guess it would be deer, because deer are known to graze on milkweed. It's not their food of choice, but it is not a deer-proof plant. it's just a deer resistant plant. And as you all know, if you have a garden and you have deer, which we all do, you'll see things that are supposed to be deer resistant that get nibbled. So I have a feeling we blamed the wrong species. And if that has a bearing on what forgiveness we might have had for a farmer, I think it should be noted. Thank you.
Okay. I also want to note that postseason, the farmer mowed the entire field, even though we told him he couldn't use the lower part. So whomever ate all of the milkweed, it was all mowed down afterwards, which was inappropriate because we had limited it. But to the farmer's defense, we'd only gone out in the field and told him he couldn't use that. We really should have modified his land use permit, given him a limited structure of what he could use and not use, and made him sign it. So, that was our fault. So it's not all, excuse me, you're not able to talk right now. That's not all the fault of the farmer. But anyway, so, okay, thank you, Melissa. Any other public input before we start the meeting?
Yes, I would like to. I live close to the field.
Sorry,
Excuse me?
can you please identify yourself? It just says P.
It says Patricia Wolf. And that's me with the P.
Okay.
I live nearby, and during that summer, I was out pulling thistle in the field, and I'm very aware of that whole situation with the sheep. And my memory and clear picture of the field was that it was not marked very well, and I was there when the Clark Farm guy came in. He didn't speak much English, but I knew that Judy had set aside some markers, but it was not clear exactly where he wasn't supposed to be. I contacted Judy to let him know that the guy was in, but I think it's totally unfair to say that Clark Farm did something wrong. I don't think it was clearly communicated to them.
Okay, so I'm just going to make a quick retort to that. I was there. We put in 6-foot tall stakes with flags on them, and we met with Andrew from Clark Farm and Margie, and we told them what they could and couldn't use, and that should have been sufficient. But
well, when I was in that field, there were not six marks with flags, that either they were taken down or the wind blew them away or something. But I'm just saying it was not clear, because I was supposed to be pulling thistle and I wasn't even sure exactly where I was supposed to be. So I don't buy it.
okay, but if you looked at the earlier,
Fine, that's good.
you showed something earlier that showed the limits, Suki, right?
Yes.
So that were the limits. But whether that's true or not true, the LSC has the right to change the use of town land, even including, and this has been approved by town council, even approving not using it for agriculture. So there are different forms of agriculture. And at the end of the term, we decided to make a different use of agriculture for that property. But anyway, I wasn't really trying to get into this right now. I'm just trying to take public comment in advance of the meeting.
So you just reacted to my comment with something else entirely.
So can we save all of that until the real meeting?
So Brian, let's just move on.
Okay,
Let's just move on.
how do you want to do that?
Well, let's just start. Is there any other actual public now actually in the meeting for the Woodward license, and not the process of how we got there, or what, but questions about what will be happening, questions about the growing and its use and what will be there, its contents. Does that make sense? So are there people who would like to speak to the actual grow native idea. So Sue, I can see you in the back there. Yep.
The last meeting, Heather from Go Native it was revealed to her, and just to put it bluntly, all of our dirty laundry. And finally, and she in mine, what I heard said, I'm good. She wasn't treated, in good faith, even though she was working in good faith. And my question is to Heather, are you still contemplating moving forward? And now that you have more information about the timeline and all the legal background that needs to be done, I'd like to ask the board, what is their plan? Because leaving it feral, is that the right word, is not adhering to the conservation restriction. So it's two-part question.
So, before we take
Fallow, thank you. Feral, fallow.
Before we take any input from the licensee, right now I'm looking for input from the abutters, basically the neighbors, about the property. And if we want to ask some questions of Heather in the end, that's great, but I don't want to pick and shoot. We'll be here all night. So right now I'm looking for feedback, and we've had from Sue and some over time about things like where they're going to be school buses, where they're going to be this, where they're going to be that. That's the kind of input I'm looking for right now.
So could you help with what's the word, Chris?
Fallow?
I can't say, remember that word.
We'll
Fallow.
get to that.
Yeah, okay.
So Katie has her hand raised, her phone raised.
Yeah, yeah. Hi, my name's Catherine Wexler, and I keep horses on an abutting property at 871 Bedford Road. And I would just like some confirmation that horses will be continue to be allowed on that property.
Sorry?
Last meeting we addressed that. And I believe Steve Tobin confirmed that they would still be allowed to use on specific edges or trail. Yeah, I'm assuming you just don't ride just through the middle of the fields.
No, there's usually mowed paths that we,
Yeah, I think those would still
stay on.
be. Yeah. I believe those will still be there, and horses were still permitted. Unless the new conservation restriction says, but I believe Steve Tobin said that they would still be allowed.
Thank you.
Anybody else who's remote? It's hard to tell because you're remote, so. Anybody else want to give any input?
Mr. Hertz?
I'm sorry, I'm not seeing that. You said something, Suki. I don't see that hand.
Oh, I
up.
said no. I was wondering if Mr. Hertz wanted to have comments. I know he's a butter. Otherwise, I guess maybe, if Heather is still there, whether she wants to comment on Sue's question of what her plans are at this time.
Well, I'm happy to take that, but I want to make sure we fully entertain any public comment before we get to the licensee. Anybody else wants to make a comment? And by the way, this won't be your last, this is not a last chance. This is a process and we're going to work through it. So if you think of things and come up with them in the future, they will certainly be considered. This is just our past to try to fully understand what the thoughts are of the abutters that we haven't considered.
Well, I don't see any hands raised.
I don't know how to raise my hand, but this is
okay.
Patricia
Sorry.
Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to, I think I can sort of speak a little bit about some of the concerns that Conrad and his wife might have, and that I have too, maybe some others, is just what sort of things I think he wanted to know about porta potties. I think there was a concern about a lot of sheds and paraphernalia, bus loads of people coming in for lessons or whatever. And I think there's a lack of clarity around that, and that makes people get worried. And
Okay.
Thanks for that. Anybody else from the public? Any more from you at this moment? No? Okay. So if Heather, I know you're kind of in and out because you've got a workshop going on. I don't know if you're here right now. Could you possibly, oh, looks like you're here.
Can you please reiterate the questions? I think there was questions about, okay, let's start. Should we just start with the no, we're not going to have a porta potty. No, no buses. There's nowhere to put them. And at the most, in terms of structures, we may consider, if grant funding allows, a small shed-sized greenhouse, primarily for equipment storage, including mowing equipment that is required for the maintenance requirements of the property. So that's that. Was there any additional questions? Those are all items that I'm sure were folks' concerns, because there were things that were listed as possibilities in the call for proposals, but none of those things are options that we would be picking up.
So Patricia also mentioned lessons. I'm not sure what she meant. Maybe she meant.
That's the school buses. I think there was a suggestion that classes could be bussed in for outdoor, like sessions out in the meadow.
Okay. And then before her, Sue had a question she was addressing to you.
If you are still signed on, are you interested in?
Yeah. Grow Native is still very interested in moving forward with the license and the proposed management plan that we submitted. It'd just be really great to see the license clarified in these sessions and agreed.
Thank you.
And the year-long CR, is that an issue for you? I think that the timeline was maybe 2 months to write, and who knows how long the state takes to approve the second
It
CR.
doesn't matter because it's town property. So
Okay.
like the Cranberry Bog, we could give someone permission to do blah, blah, blah.
Got it.
It just doesn't have a CR.
Okay.
So that's not a
So
showstopper.
she can pull in. Okay, great. No, that's yes.
So Heather,
I'm so sorry.
I just say if is your question answered, Sue?
Well, only in I think then it gets to her work proposal and how it matches the current CR, which is the entire 6 acres, but I think she was looking at doing a project in a few thousand square feet. So what does the rest of the property look like? Because it's not supposed to sit idle.
The 5,000 square feet of patches, that's just part of the management plan. It's not the entire management plan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's just one part of what we want to do as part of our assessment of pollinator biodiversity and ways that can be enriched.
And Heather, was it in that original proposal, the remainder of the land? Did you have?
I'm sorry,
what
remainder?
Yeah, the remainder. Well, she's
yes, I understand what you're asking, Sue. Yes, it is. It's primarily in the first, at least in the first year or two, primarily the activities that will need to be undertaken due to the nature of the requirements of the license is going to be invasive plant management. And that's going to be undertaken on the entire property within the fence boundary, is my understanding.
Okay.
So can I ask a question?
Please.
Do I understand, Heather, that what was written in the management plan is not the entire management plan?
That is the entire management plan. I
Okay.
think it's got some pretty in-depth description of invasive plant management.
Well, you mentioned, I'm just trying to understand you. So you mentioned earlier the requirements of the CR, which, I mean, to the extent that it exists, requires the entire property to be, the entire fields to be kept open. And I did not see that addressed in the management plan. I could have missed it, but maybe you can tell us what your plan is in that regard.
In terms of keeping the meadow a meadow and not letting it succeed into a forest edge or forest.
Yes, that's a fair description.
Yeah, yeah. Meadows really only need to be mowed once a year to be kept at the most, really, to be kept as meadow. And so that is most likely the approach that we will be taking to keep those plants from the woodier plants from encroaching. That would be, generally speaking, for ecological management of meadows. That is usually done in late spring.
All right. So again, I didn't see it written in the management plan, but your plan would be probably to mow so non 5,000 square feet areas in late spring. Is that correct?
That's correct. And yeah, I think it's important that you do reiterate my use of the word probably. I think the reason it's not really laid out in explicitly in the management plan is that, and this is something that people, I think a few people have expressed consternation over, is that our first year of the license, which we described in our proposal and presentation, was that our first year would really be dedicated primarily to observation. And I think a lot of people are really seeing that as inactivity and disuse. And I just really wanted to clarify that observation is not inactivity.
Is there a written report of your observations, or are you intending to provide one?
Yes, we're not finished observing.
Okay. And when do you expect to get to the end of the observation phase?
Miles and I are planning on my Woodward Meadow working group is convening tomorrow to discuss our next steps in our action plan. But and that's when we're likely going to talk about scheduling. It's when we're scheduling the next steps. We've got 4 other people that I'm working with to work on this. And so I know that people are really eager to get a management plan. So that's what we submitted, what we have so far. And that is first year, second year, and then from there we build on what we learn.
Would it be helpful for me to share the management plan?
Not, I mean, not for me. I did review it carefully. But that does bring me to my second question, which Heather, thank you very much, which is not for Heather, but it's been said several times this evening that this is not the last opportunity for abutters and interested citizens to comment and submit input. Our present schedule, set back in November or December, calls for a February 2nd meeting to formulate recommendations to the LSC, implying that that is the last meeting of the Woodward Subcommittee. Is that now changed?
Yes, I would say so.
Okay, and so if we're going to provide an opportunity for interested citizens to participate, I would ask that there be a notice of whatever that meeting is going to occur that provides a link to the management plan, so that people can actually see what is proposed. It, as I said before, the license document does not provide any details of what is going to happen. It's pretty much all in the management plan, and I think people ought to be given a realistic opportunity to review the management plan and see what is in fact proposed.
So Alex, that management plan is on the town website.
Again, it may be so. In fact, it is so, but people ought to be given a link to it so that they know. I mean, the notice is issued gives you no idea of, where to find it or what it says or why it might be different from the license. I think it's fair to give people a meaningful notice.
So
So
that
shall
was
we, do you want to
courtesy.
start making plan some more dates, or is there more discussion to happen in general? Should we plan some more meetings? And yes, I agree that we should send that stuff out to each of the committees.
and a butters.
Yep. Oh, yes, Sue?
Before this working group makes a proposal to LSC, which I presume also makes a proposal to CONSCOM, correct me if I'm wrong. But
So that won't be happening. We'll wait till after we have the other meetings with all stakeholders again.
okay,
So the
that's
February 2nd thing isn't going to happen.
the reason. Yes, I think you just hit it on the head. I believe CCF wanted to have the I think she wanted to compare the management plan against the CR with her attorney. So I think before an official recommendation can be made, would you see that step would happen?
Well, I think we have to plan the other meetings first before we can and see what is going to be a reasonable time frame for the meeting with the other, for the other committees to meet, discuss, and then meet with us. So probably not until into March, because if we want to give January and February time for the other committees to meet, and have you abutters have a chance to look over the management plan. So maybe those meetings would be end of February, and then maybe have the proposals at the March LSC meeting.
I'm so sorry, I didn't quite understand it. So are you saying CCF would have time to just double check with their attorney that everything's copacetic before you make a proposal as LSC?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So, if I may, I mean, the purpose of this committee is to identify the issues with the license agreement and come up with proposals to fix those issues.
Okay,
Part of that was of all the things we've identified, making sure it's compliant with the current CR is one of those issues that I think we need to comply, we need to resolve. So, I would like to see us get a comprehensive list together. We can cross off the buses, we can cross off the porta potty. Some of these things are easy. Some of these things are not so easy. But I don't think that I don't think they're insurmountable. At least I hope they're not insurmountable, that we can't come up with some reasonable, reasonable path forward. But I think, yeah. Answer your question, yes.
Like, closes up on me here.
Okay, thank you.
Well, to Sue's question about CCF, and
Oh, you seem to have frozen on yourself. Alex?
Yeah, he's gone from my screen.
Oh, God, yeah, he is gone, huh?
It's a couple people just said.
Well, maybe he'll come back. While we're waiting for Alex, I feel like Boston Public Radio. Oh, we dropped you, Joe. Can you come back? While we're waiting for him, is there anybody?
There he is.
So Alex, we missed, you missed like 99%. Whatever you said, we missed.
well, I was just to Sue's question about CCF. I just want to say that while the town may not be under any legal obligation with respect to what's been identified as parcel 40S, because it does not have a CR, that I want to make the point that CCF has been a valued partner to the town for eons and is largely responsible or has participated in the acquisition of almost all, town lands. So to dismiss them as we have no legal obligation, I think is very short-sighted. And we ought to try to work cooperatively with CCF to work through these issues and any other issues that they may have.
I agree 100%, Alex. And I believe at the last meeting, we were sure to do that. We agreed to work with CCF.
So Alex, what makes you think we dismissed them or we weren't going to take their
Again,
input?
tonight, you said what we want. You said it. It wasn't me.
I'm sorry, you broke up a little bit. Could you repeat that?
I think he's referring to the fact that you said we don't have to have a CR on the land.
On the third parcel to allow them to pass and repass and make use of it. That's correct. But that isn't to any way to snub a CR that's been in process for the last 5 or 7 years.
The CCF requested not to lease it until the CR was completed. They did make that request.
But we did. We gave it to Clark. We gave it to some woman before Clark, That's what we've done.
Don't think we leased parcel 4.
Well, the grazing was on the parcel 4, and that's an agricultural license. So is that license different than the
Parcel 4 goes out into the land.
Well, CCF made the point at the meeting regarding how to get, the easement surveyed. And by easement, I mean the abutters easement of access surveyed. CCF made the point in response to that same statement was that it had not been consulted with respect to those licenses either. So I don't know where that takes us. I just would like us to work cooperatively and not in opposition to CCF. I think it's very important to future.
100%. Agree 100%, Alex.
Yeah, I think that takes us to a level of awareness, and we'll, unfortunately, in the past, all those licenses were part of Conscom. They're now part of LSC, and of course, we're going to take input. This is the the one we cut our teeth on, unfortunately, and it was kind of ugly. But I don't know what the next one will be. But of course, we'll be taking that input. Is there any more comment from the public? Thank you, Alex. Is there any more comment from the public regarding this? That this meeting is mostly about taking information from the public regarding this, and anything new, I'm gonna make something up, but at one point, Stu was concerned they were gonna build raised beds, which wasn't an issue, but whatever people's concerns are, it would be great to have them exposed as much as possible right now. Here's some.
Well, I would like to know, I mean, if we're not getting comment, it could be because it's not very well known what we're talking about. And I think there's been a couple things, like the letters that went out to folks. Have we seen a copy of that? Is that,
I haven't seen it.
nobody knows what it said?
Oh, no, it was, I have seen it. And essentially, I mean, in material part, it gives no, links to the documents to be reviewed and discussed. So you have to be very, very proactive to, research what it's about, to understand and then participate. And the notices were mailed so as to be received, with no time. People have busy lives with no time to do that and attend. I look at the screen here tonight, and Sue Pietropaola predictably is present. She's been, deeply concerned and involved. Margie Finley is present. I think she has been deeply concerned, involved. And other than that, we have three participants that I believe are abutters. So that may be because only three abutters have an interest, or it can be because the notice was such short notice and didn't help people to understand what they were looking at or being asked to comment upon.
So Alex, as you know, unlike Conscom, which actually would send out a notice and say, hearing on X date at Y time, we had no obligation. This was a courtesy to the abutters, trying to make them aware, because there were people in a few meetings ago that said, we didn't know anything about this. And I don't think there's an issue. I mean, it's a cost to the town, but of re-noticing that. But I don't think that LSC or anybody else has an obligation to specifically hand feed and provide all the documents. They're on the town website and available for anyone who wants to look at them. I never.
If you're not going to give people reasonable notice, then why you do it at all? And I agree, we have no obligation, but the purpose of this review was, amongst other things, specifically to take input from abutters and concerned citizens. So it's not helpful to me for you to say that we had no obligation to do it.
So Alex,
I think you should do it, and I think you should do it right.
So what would
and
Brian?
that's why we're going to have, Brian, I'll handle this. When this was posted, again, December 29th, and you can have alerts set. So, and there were some delays from town hall to getting those butters notices out. And also we will be having more meetings for abutters, so that now ones who are here can go and they can think about it, they can raise more questions, and then they can come back, and ask those questions.
And all I'm asking is that whenever that meeting is held, that sufficient advance notice be given with a link to the documents.
Okay, we will.
So, thank you.
So what would be sufficient to you, Alex? A week, 2 weeks?
So I think once,
Well, I think once we set the schedule, which we've already said is not February 2nd, that whenever we know, the notice should go out immediately.
Yep.
You're
I
gonna
agree.
have probably 3 or 4 weeks if you do that.
so would people want Heather, since she's here, to maybe give a general description of what she envisions for the Woodward field, of how it would look, or how they plan to work at a very general overview?
Well, I think, and again,
The management
you know,
plan, it gets very specific.
no, the management plan is specific as far as it goes, and Heather, this is not a criticism, okay? It's very specific as far as it goes, but if there are, as you discussed tonight, there are other management, techniques or measures that you probably or will employ, it would certainly be helpful, I think, for people to know that. What you
Oops,
Frozen again.
there it goes again. Carlisle Wi-Fi.
So,
Still on?
so Heather, if you're still there, can you, so Alex, you dropped off again. So could you finish your
Well,
question, and we'll have Heather speak?
if can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, so again, if there are other management techniques that are intended to be employed, I think it would be helpful to supplement the management plan to describe what those would be. And also a timeline. I know you said you've employed this past, 7 months, I guess, on observation, but you're going into, or will soon be going into, the second year of the license. So I think sort of a timeline of, what you propose to do would also be helpful.
Okay, great, thank you. There is a timeline, sort of a Gantt chart in the management plan for the activities that we laid out there.
Yes.
And as you pointed out, there are activities that have yet to be decided because they're still going to be determined by the processes that we're observing. But so yeah, we can provide future timeline, like additional activities and the future timeline and decision dates, but I can't provide those to you today because I haven't had an opportunity to reconvene with my working group. But yeah, no, totally reasonable to ask for that, and it's just not something I am able to provide in this meeting. But when we have an opportunity to really flesh more of that out, we will definitely communicate that to LSC.
All right, and just one other point, since I don't think we're going to be meeting now until sometime in February. It's my memory you expected to have a grant decision by then. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe the Massachusetts Biodiversity Grant decision will be made and communicated at the end of this month, or very beginning of next month at the latest. It's kind of a very short application timeline, and then also a very short and then also a very short decision timeline, and an extremely short spending timeline.
Right. Well, that's where I was getting to is it would be, I think, very helpful if as soon as you know what the decision is, that you could communicate that to the land stewards.
Oh, for sure, 100%. That like as you're implying, like it has a huge impact on the direction our plans go in. There's a lot of things that we can do within our management plan that can happen whether or not we get this grant. But if we get the grant, we can do so much more and have a really big impact in a very short amount of time. And if we don't get the grant, then we just have to accomplish these things in a more creative way.
Okay, well, now I'm bombarding you again, but if during this time period, I would like you, this is not a committee request, but I would like you to consider what the town could do, or the townsfolk could do on a volunteer basis to assist in the management of the invasives in the Woodward field. I keep harping back to this, that we have had at least one very successful large-scale volunteer effort. And if you think about it, and there are ways that we might supplement your plan, please feel free to communicate them.
Oh, absolutely. We would love to. We are big on using volunteer power. And that's going to be, we're going to use volunteers anytime we can in like the more manual hand pulling type invasive removal. And when we do that, I'll definitely be broadcasting that out to our existing volunteer base, but 100% would love to, I think I mentioned this in the last meeting, would love to hear from you guys the best way to actually get that information out to Carlisle residents as well, because it would be fantastic to have Carlisle residents involved in that volunteer work. And I know we have a number of Carlisle residents in our existing volunteer base, but I mean, everyone else, all the residents would not be getting the information about these volunteer opportunities. And it would be great to get your advice on the best way to disseminate that.
Thank you very much again.
Sure thing. Thanks for your questions.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to
So
ask again, anybody else want to give any input? Hearing none, I'd like to set a future schedule for our meetings. We may not have the agenda for them. Obviously, our last meeting, we met with town boards, and they said they may have to go back and sort of noodle this and come up with a plan and come back to us. That makes sense. Same thing with the butters. You may have different concerns that haven't been raised here. We can plan another meeting, give more notice, talk about that. So I don't know what other input people want to provide tonight to help us to get to that, but can we set a schedule for next meeting? Because this is the last meeting we planned. Sorry, go ahead.
We have one on the books. Well, not an agenda out there, but you'd have the February 2nd. I think it was.
Yeah. So I'm not quite sure right now what we would use that for, but do we want to make a couple more?
Well,
Want to do it
and I-
16? Oh, that's a holiday. 23rd?
Of February?
Please, yeah.
What week is vacation week in Massachusetts?
I don't know, but I assume the week before, which is
Yeah,
16th.
because that's President's Day. Yeah.
That's probably
Can-
that week.
Can I,
Mhm. What, Alex, do you think is enough time for other committees and such?
Looks like he froze up again.
Yeah.
Alex isn't moving. Alex, he's still there? Well, we could do this offline if we have to, but if we at least have the 22nd, February 2nd, we could potentially do the 23rd, but we can, via communication locally, we could figure out other meetings, and we'll obviously post them, and if they're going to involve abutters, we'll give plenty of notice.
Alex, is the 23rd all right with you?
I'd have to check the 23rd. I'll be in.
Okay. For Chris.
Alex is moving again, so I don't know,
Okay.
you can,
well, I just think I would like to try to move this forward a little faster because of Heather's constraints. If the grant is awarded, she's going to need to be able to move fairly quickly. So I would keep the February 2nd meeting. If we can send out notices to abutters immediately for the February 2nd meeting, that's more than 2 weeks. And then if we also advise town boards to respond, prior to say, I don't know if this works or not, but prior to say February 9. Does that work for everybody?
sorry, respond by then or have a meeting on February 9th?
Well, I would say have a meeting on February 9.
Okay. Hi.
Alex, were you imagining that there'd be in subgroup? Would you be imagining you'd have an updated, corrected license to look at?
Well,
When does that happen?
I think that would happen. Well, let me see. I mean, I would think that concurrent with February 9 meeting, that we could at least have a draft set of recommendations as to how to change the license if the decision is to go forward with it, and correct, whatever issues there are, and that could be reviewed at a subsequent meeting. I don't want this to become Heather couldn't proceed because we couldn't get our act together quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I would much rather as Heather couldn't proceed because we decided it wasn't a good idea. And don't take that as a preconceived notion. I just think to make the decision by default is not fair. And so, yeah, maybe I will try. I know I did a summary of the issues that I identified with respect to the license, and I think I could turn that into a draft set of recommendations that the committee could look at and, agree with, disagree with, whatever, but that we could be looking at that either at February 2 or February 9, always subject to, receiving further abutter comment and further town board input.
So Al, could you get that to us well before February? You could get this to the end of January, so we had time to look at that before our February 2nd meeting?
Um, you're asking me to take time off the slopes of southern France to write.
I was gonna say, I thought you were on vacation for the last 2 weeks of January.
Yes, I'm leaving this Thursday and coming
Oh.
back January 30th. I could have it for you for a February 9 meeting. I don't.
Thank you.
Can I just add something? And I'm not sure if it's helpful, but just in terms of, Alex, the materials you're looking to generate, and also the consideration that CCF is making while referring to their attorney. I think it would be useful for folks to not forget to also include the supplemental materials that were included with the license.
I think they've been incorporated into the license, if I'm not mistaken.
Um,
Some of them, like the dog thing, were not.
Well,
It's not appropriate.
they're in, what's appropriate, not appropriate, not the question. I think, are you talking about the comments at the back of the license, Heather?
I'm not sure where they were placed in the
Yeah.
license. I received them separately as a separate document. I don't know if I've ever seen them incorporated into the license. But yeah, they're additional comments. I'm not sure who authored them, but they're additional.
We call it the supplemental document.
Oh, I read it as supplemental materials, but yes, a
Yeah.
supplemental document, and it's got just a few points of things that, like, activities that would be permissible or considered under this license that aren't specified in the license, or I guess the CR that's attached to the license.
That document is referenced within the actual signed license as well. So, I don't know.
Heather, I'm sure somebody, I don't, but somebody has your email address, and when I produce a draft document, I'd send it to you as well and hope that you would have a chance to review.
Thank you.
Anything else for tonight?
So just for clarity, we've scheduled a meeting February.
February is gone, but February 2nd and February 9th? Hopefully Alex will come back. But that's what we scheduled. And Suki, under the claim that I'm not authorized tonight, when it comes to closing this meeting, if you would be so willing, I'd like you to take the vote to adjourn and to actually take the vote, because Alex claims that I'm not authorized, which I don't think is true, because I'm now a resident. But
Fine, right, okay. So Alex, we're just confirming that you have February 2nd
Yes,
as the meeting, and February 9th.
yes.
Okay,
and we'd get his comments prior to February 9th, so we could, his comments on changes to the license, so we can discuss them on February 9th.
I'm sorry to interrupt again, but can you clarify what the two different meetings are for? So should I be planning to attend, or trying to attend both of those meetings, or is there a specific meeting that would be more appropriate for my attendance, or neither? That would just be helpful to know for my scheduling purposes.
so I think the February 2nd one, we'll hopefully know your grant results, and then we'll be having the abutters response to the land management plan. And then February 9th we'll be going over the draft that Alex will have of the license and the supplemental document. and have any of the town board input. So probably both might be helpful to, because it's very helpful to have you here tonight, so might be nice to plan on both if you
All right,
can.
I will do what I will see what I can do. I think it's going to be possible, and I'll also see if I can get any of my working group to attend as well, if that would be helpful. As I mentioned to Brian, I did have Miles Connors with me last week, but I didn't have any opportunity to really talk. He's the head of Parterre Ecological and the author of the management plan.
Okay. Yeah, that would be wonderful. Yeah. So I think that's it.
With Alex being out the next couple of weeks, I mean, we've got a lot of information, a lot of materials. I don't suppose that I could rewrite the license agreement, but I could certainly summarize for that February 2nd meeting what the issues are, and at least the ones that are easily resolved, you know, we can identify those. But I do think we should have some presentation for abutters or public that we're asking comment for, to say, you know, instead of just saying, you've read the material, what do you think? I mean, I think, you know, instead of sort of just an ad hoc thing, and maybe a quick familiarization of where we are, and you know, the purpose of the committee and where we're headed. So I can take a crack at some of that, Alex, while you're away.
Yeah, well, now that you say that, it might make sense to reverse the order. February 2 for the town boards and February 9 for abutters. Because then you could do what you
Work on your Wi-Fi. I think he sees it. He's stopped.
So Chris, I think that's a good idea. That would be wonderful if you could do that.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
I've proved my proficiency with minutes. I don't know if I can do any better with something like that, but I will try.
Okay, so we've decided that February 2nd, we might meet with,
You're back, Alex, I think.
February 2nd, we would meet with town, official town boards, other stakeholders. And then February 9th, we would try to do a license wrap up and more feedback from abutters. Is that correct?
makes sense to me.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
So we all set now?
I think so.
Final
So-
comments? Otherwise, somebody, I think else has to, or move to adjourn the meeting?
Couple just housekeeping issues.
Okay.
Suki, the document that you pulled up, I think we should put that on our meeting packet
Okay.
website.
Timeline.
Yeah, gonna pull a document up and talk about it. It should get put on our meeting packet. Was one other thing. And it's gone. So
I come back.
I moved. Yeah, my yeah, that's fine. I do want to ask if somebody knows the process for minutes now that they're approved. Where do I send those? Does anybody know?
I'll find out. They actually now supposedly have to be like in a, I like yours with a little gold edge, but they have to be in a certain format.
I copped LSC minutes, so hopefully it's right format.
There's a new format we have to follow.
Okay.
So Chris, they will not just send it to the town clerk and they will not hesitate to tell you what you need to change.
Exactly.
Oh, let's see. Okay.
I think it needs a red bow.
Yeah.
All right, so does somebody move to adjourn them, or I move to adjourn the meeting? And
You can't move it.
I'll motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Second.
okay, so Chris, your vote.
Aye. Yes.
Shane.
Yeah, second. Yeah.
Okay, so Brian.
If I'm allowed to vote, I believe I am. I would vote yes, but if I'm not, you can ignore me. And
Okay, and
your vote
Alex.
is with them. Oh,
Aye.
Alex.
Okay, so thank you, everyone, and we'll see you on February 2nd. Alex, have a great time
Thank
in
you.
France, and don't break a leg, though.
Yeah, well, it'll happen. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.